very good evening and a warm welcome to Personal Finance. I'm Kukuletu Cele. Now, being blacklisted could see you desperate for a way out, but should you be looking at the numerous ads which promise all that and more? Wikus Olivier from DebtSafe joins me now for some more insight. Always good to have you with us on the show, Wikus. Let's start with that big, important B word, blacklisted. And maybe let's take a few steps back here. At what point do consumers actually find themselves in that position? What does it take to actually get blacklisted?
Yeah, blacklisted is a strong term, actually, and it creates the perception that there's this huge list, and once your name is on that list, then you can't get credit anywhere, and then you're a bad consumer. But that's not actually what happens. It's just your credit profile, and there are certain flags or notifications on your credit profile for when you maybe had a default or you have a judgment, then that gets flagged on your credit profile. But as far as blacklisting goes, it's not a big list where your name gets published, so everybody can avoid you.
So there are various ranges going quite clearly. As you mentioned, you miss payments or judgments against you. But do you get notification of these, or do you actually alert? Are you alerted to this only when you apply for credit?
No, credit providers usually tell you in advance when you default. They'll tell you, listen, if you don't pay this, we are going to send your or some negative detail up to your credit profile, so that it serves as a warning to other credit providers that you are not a good payer in the sense of it. So you'll build up a credit history in terms of your payment history. Every month that you manage your payments, if you skipped one, then it'll show you skipped a payment. But if it gets a bit more severe and you default or you get a default judgment against your name, now that's where the problem comes in.
So I'm someone watching at home tonight and I want to find out if I am blacklisted or if I have those red flags against my name. I take it the obvious place to start then is with the credit check that you can get for free? Yeah,
absolutely. The Credit Act says that every consumer is entitled to one free credit report per year. So go onto the websites like TransUnion, Experian or XDS. There's guys that consolidates all those credit reports like Credit Health. You can go on there and you pay a fee online, or if you haven't had your free one yet, you can pull your free one and have a look at it. Check out your credit score, check out your credit history, if there's any flags, and then you need to take action to get that score up again.
That's the big question. What kind of action? Because we go through newspapers on a daily basis and so often we see those advertisements that apply for credit if you're blacklisted, or we can get your name off that list that you said actually doesn't really exist. What's the way forward then?
Yeah, the first thing consumers need to consider there is that it's illegal for somebody to advertise and use the words apply for credit even when blacklisted. The Credit Act specifically states that phrase is illegal to use in advertising. So the first thing is that is illegal advertising. Then you need to check if that credit provider who's actually offering that loan services is registered with the National Credit Regulator. Many times you'll see those guys are loan sharks. They'll give you the credit and at exorbitant interest rates and fees, charges that they'll have there, far in excess of what is allowed in the Credit Act. So if you do apply for a loan, because there are legitimate guys that do give loans to guys who are blacklisted per se.
Will a bank give me a loan, or either financial, registered as you mentioned, recognized institutions, and what terms and conditions might apply then if I do have those red flags on my name?
Yeah, they'll probably charge you a bit more in interest and fees, but within the limits that the Credit Act sets. Because you must remember, if you do have a bad credit record and you go apply for credit, then you are a risk to them. So they'll have to level out that risk for themselves by increasing the fees that they may charge. But if you are actually blacklisted, and it's all about affordability. They'll go through the same processes, check if you can afford it, have a look at your income statements, and with the Credit Act amendments, the affordability assessment is even stricter now than it was in the past. So it will be more difficult for consumers anyway to get credit. And definitely with the banks and what we've seen with all credit providers, half of credit active consumers are 3 months or more in arrears, according to the statistics that's published. So you can say half of credit active consumers are blacklisted, and it's a huge cake for the banks to bite into and it would be just dumb to ignore those guys. Many of them have settled their debt already, but because of the retention periods on the credit profiles, the record stays with them for a year or 2 or 3, and then they're taken out of the credit market.
Tell us about that, the retention period. Does it last for a standard period of time, or is there just a one size fits all, or are they different depending on the severity of your lack of credit worthiness, if I can use that term?
Yeah, for the different credit types, there's different retention periods, or for the different listings, like a judgment listing, it used to have a retention period of 10 years. With the Act amendments published on the 13th of March, it's been brought down to 5 years. Default listing has got a specific period of time. I think it's now 1 year, it's 12 months. It used to be 24 months. So consumers can get credit active a lot quicker than they could in the past. And that's where the loan granting to guys with a bad credit profile actually came in. You settled your debt, but you're still dragging along this bad record.
So you made it quite clear we should ignore the advertisements that we see in the papers and not believe them, and only attend to registered financial institutions who might be able to help you. Is debt consolidation ever an issue there, or a potential option for someone who's highly indebted?
Yeah, they'll advertise, consolidate, even though you're blacklisted, and you can do that. But do your homework. Go onto the web and check if there are any reviews with regards to this specific credit provider that wants to give you the loan. Go onto the National Credit Regulator's website, see if they are registered. And by the way, every credit provider needs to be registered now with the Act amendments. If you are giving out money to people, you must be registered with the credit regulator.
So no Uncle Joe down the road.
No Uncle Joe down the road anymore.
Let's start off with individuals like yourself, obviously. Certified financial planners, I take it that's also a good place to start. How do you deal with clients and individuals who have those red flags across their name, and maybe bringing down that retention period, as you alluded to?
Yeah. It's a process, and it takes time, and I think many consumers come and they sit in front of us and they want a quick solution to this thing, because their car is broken down and dilapidated. Now they need to buy a new car, but the credit record is holding them back. Even if you have all the cash to settle your debt right now, it's still going to take a while to get your credit worthiness up again. So what I would advise consumers out there is to plan properly, see which interest or which credit accounts you're going to pay first. Maybe start with small ones and bring the arrears up to date first. Don't go and settle everything, because you need to build a record of good payment, not just bad payment, and then settled. You need to build a record of good payment.
Explain that. So in other words, I need to take out maybe another set of credit, or do I actually need to go that far and then prove that over a certain number of months I can actually make regular payments on time?
It happens that consumers sometimes have the money to settle a few debts. And what I'm saying is that when you do have that money to settle a few debts, don't just go and settle all of them if they are in arrears. Rather bring them up to date and then pay them well for a month or 3, and then settle them, because you need to build a record. If you go and settle them on a status that's in arrears, then you'll have a bad record, and then all of a sudden it's settled. Then your credit score is still affected negatively.
So what happens now, Wikus? You've taken this client through this journey of paying off their credit and getting them to a process where they show that they can make regular payments. But what happens then? How do you clear your name, if at all you can, when there are these retention periods? Yeah,
there's certain provisions in the Act. If there's information that is inaccurate on your credit profile, the Act provides that you can lodge a complaint against those or lodge a dispute, and then within 20 days the credit bureau needs to get back to you to say whether this has been incorrectly listed or whatever the case may be. So that's for incorrect things. The normal things where the data is truthful and reflects what actually happened in your credit life, you need to give it time. You need to give it time to get by. You need to build a good payment record, pay your things on time, pay a little bit in advance if you can, because all of those things bring your credit score up, and you need to get it above 650, because there's a score with ranges. And all these nice colors, green and red. So down below is the red ones. You don't want to be there. You need to get it up even more than 700, your score. And if people go draw their credit reports, then they'll see what I'm talking about there.
So green is what we're looking for here.
Green is what you're looking for, yeah.
At what cost does this come at? And maybe is that something that we need to be cognizant of, because depending on how much debt you're in or how much arrears you have to carry with you, clearly it could come at significant cost when you want the service of someone to assist you in clearing your name if you're blacklisted.
Yeah, there are attorneys out there who help consumers to, if they've got judgments and the judgment has been paid off, to go and rescind that judgment. And when the rescission is issued, then the credit report must be amended as well. But now with the Credit Act amendments, which is very nice for consumers, if your debt has been settled, even though it's a judgment debt, the record can be removed. There's no need for rescission anymore. So keep your payments up to date, get those judgment debts settled quickly, because they are the ones that's hurting you. People are losing jobs because of those. They're struggling to find employment because of judgments in specific industries. So it's a very serious thing.
Well, Wikus, we've said quite a bit. Time now to get our key takeaway points from this discussion. Wikus, your top 5 points that the viewers should leave the show with today?
The number one thing, if you want to borrow money from these guys that advertise for blacklisted loans, it's illegal to advertise like that. So go and check. If they start out with illegal advertising, probably the operations will be fishy as well. Investigate that they are registered with the National Credit Regulator, check the reviews online, and then when you do get the credit, handle it responsibly. Make payments on time, even make payments in advance to get your credit score up. And then if you want to get your credit report cleared or improved, pull it, go get your free credit report that you are entitled to once a year, and then draw up an action plan to see how you're going to address those ones that are hurting you on your credit report.
Exactly. You mentioned something very interesting on the National Credit Act just a moment ago, and I want us to revisit that. Will there ever be a period in time where South African consumers will see their bad credit records done away with, where they disappear and they no longer kept on record? Or does this depend on certain transactions that you alluded to earlier?
No, the records will always be there. Last year we had the credit amnesty.
Yes.
And it ran for 3 months. It was I think from March until end of May that it ran. And there it cleared everybody's credit record. And many consumers started from the beginning there. But we've seen many consumers fall back into the older habits of falling into arrears. Many consumers were helped through the amnesty, but I don't see it happening again anytime soon.
So the trick is not to fall off the wagon again.
Yeah, keep it going,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, Wikus, that's where we'll leave it for Personal Finance this evening. A big thank you once more to Wikus Olivier of DebtSafe. Remember that we'd love to hear from you and share your insights with us. If you are someone with the red flags next to their name, you can tweet any of your comments to @CNBC Africa using the hashtag Finance410 or to myself @Gukumfupi on Twitter. Until next time, it's goodbye for now.